Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today I'm going to show you how to de-yellow a Super Famicom or a Super Nintendo, depending on which one you have. This also would work on, say, things like a Dreamcast or any other white console that's been sun-stained yellow. But if you don't care about my little preamble, just go ahead and skip right here to this time code and we can begin the actual process. But I'd recommend sticking around. Now, with consoles like the Dreamcast and other white ones, they just get sun-stained. Okay, so like they just get too much exposure to the sun and they turn yellow, easily corrected. The Super Nintendo / Super Famicom is kind of a unique case because what happened was that Nintendo kind of screwed up their plastic mixtures when they were making these. They included a chemical called bromine. Now, bromine was put in there to help make the console fire retardant. They realized they screwed this up and eventually took it out. Later Super Nintendos and the Super Nintendo Junior never had it. But basically what happens is it reacts with UV light. Now, UV light is a band of light that exists in sunlight and just most lights we see on a day-to-day basis. Over time, they combine and the result is this, the nasty yellowing effect we all know too well. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I don't really care about the yellowing. I kind of like it, you know, aesthetically it looks nice to me. If you think that, that's fine. There's no judgment there. But what you should know is that it doesn't just affect the appearance of it. It also affects the structural integrity. The plastic becomes weaker. It becomes brittle. It breaks down. It's almost like it's corroding and rotting. And that's fixable. And it should be fixed because this, any intense pressure you put on this thing, if it falls, whatever, it's gonna fall apart. So it's good to restore it. Now, I actually did a video on this like 2 years ago, whereby I basically took a bunch of ingredients, I did this scientific experiment type of thing, put it all together and made this concoction, and it worked. It worked great. You want to know how well it worked? This used to be yellow. This Super Nintendo used to be yellow. Today it looks factory. I mean, it looks great. So it's definitely worth doing. However, a lot of people said, and understandably so, that they didn't like the process because it was really complicated. And I don't blame you. It sucks, but that's kind of, you got to do it the right way, I guess. But a lot of people are saying there's alternatives. And because I knew my method worked, I stuck with it, but I was open to ideas. Now, a few months ago, I was up in Canada, and I was hanging out with a couple of guys, Julian and Mike, and they took me over to this hair care place, and they're like, Adam, you got to get this stuff. And they made me buy this, which I was happy to do. It cost $6 Canadian, which is about $4.50 American. I couldn't tell you for the life of me what this actually does as far as hair care purposes, but essentially, my understanding is the chemical in here, the result, is the same thing you would yield from the whole method I showed you guys, which sounds pretty sweet, right? Something you can buy over the counter, it's pre-made, and it's really cheap. So what's the catch? Well, the catch is, and that's what we're going to test here today, is that supposedly it's only like okay. Maybe comparing it like a homemade hamburger would be the first kind. You go out, you buy all the ingredients, you make them, you mix the meat and all the stuff together. That's one, and it tastes great. Then there's also like the cheap McDonald's way. This is kind of like the McDonald's equivalent. Nevertheless, we're going to test it out. We're going to try it, and I'm going to tell you if I can recommend this or not. I thought at the very least I would try it since I never had an excuse to until recently. I got this Super Famicom as just kind of a bonus item, and it was yellowed, and I thought, what the hell, I'll show you guys, and we can see if this is worth a damn. So now you got to take apart your Super Famicom, aka European Super Nintendo, or your American Super Nintendo. You can't do this with the console intact because it's going to require water and all sorts of other things, so it's best to just take it apart. I'm not going to show you that process in this video, but I have done that before, so if you have a European Super Nintendo or a Super Famicom, click here, and you can see the guide on how to take it apart, unless, of course, you already know how to do that. And then right there for the American Super Nintendo, same conditions apply. So go ahead and check those out if you need to, and then come back to this video. So now that you've got the console apart, hopefully, in my case, it's just the two main pieces, this part and that part, that are yellowed. The front part here isn't yellowed or anything, so I'm not bothering with it. I took it apart and I actually cleaned it, which is why, I don't know if you can tell, but it's wet. I'm basically letting it air dry. You want to make sure this stuff is clean before you do this, otherwise you're going to have different problems on your hands. The console's dry, and now we can apply the solution. Before we do that, though, I highly recommend you get a set of latex gloves or rubber gloves to protect your skin from contact with the solution. Secondly, the last little warning here is you're also going to need one of these. This is a Blacklight. I'm sure you've seen these in, like, I don't know, haunted houses, raves, TV shows, whatever. It's a purple light. I'm sure you guys would recognize it. Now, the reason you need this is that essentially it's a UV light. And ironically, Once you put the solution on, the final thing you need to make the reaction happen, to turn it back to normal, is UV light. Now, that home concoction stuff I was talking about earlier that I did, one of the benefits of that is that once it's done, you can just stick it out in the sun and it gets enough UV light from that. However, apparently from what I've read on the internet, from what people have told me, that is not the case with this version. You will need an actual UV light. They're not too expensive or anything. I got this on Amazon, I think, for like $9, but I just thought you guys should know that. But anyway, now that you have that final warning, it's time to go ahead and apply our solution. So we're just going to take some, just like this, and basically just pour it on the plastic and just kind of wipe it around like this. Now, I'm only going to do this bottom part right now on camera, but you have to go ahead and do that to the outside of the plastic, the underside, any affected area of plastic. Just get it completely covered in this stuff. Sorry about the lighting in the handheld, but alright, so I've got the stuff all applied there, and they're just kind of sitting there. And my photo light here is set up, and I'm going to be turning this on in a minute. Okay, I know the footage is going to look really bad, but you got to trust me. They're there, they've got the stuff on them, and they got the UV light overhead, and we're going to see how... I'm going to leave it out here for, I don't know, 8-9 hours, and then see how it turns out. So it's been about 4 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and flip these things. As you can see, I just have them laying on some bubble wrap so that I don't mess up my carpet. It's been another 4 hours, so now I'm going to take these and wash them off and see what they look like. I finished washing everything off, and I'm not impressed. Now, I know it takes more than one coat, so we're going to do this again, but it is improved, but it's certainly not impressive, and I don't know how well it's going to come through on the camera. This is what it looks like currently, but keep in mind, it's supposed to look like that. You can see the difference in the shade, right? Yeah, it's supposed to look like that. Now, I don't expect to ever get it to fully restore to that with this method, but the idea is hopefully we can get it a lot closer. So I'm going to go ahead and try this again. I'll probably use a lot more just for the hell of it, and we'll see what the results are like. I did a second treatment. I used a lot more of the stuff, and it's definitely improved, but it's still not particularly impressive. I'm going to go ahead and do a third trial, and we'll see how that turns out. Completed trial number 3 here, and it's definitely grayer than it was, though it's still definitely not finished. You can still see there's yellow on the side. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but it is closer to the original color. I mean, if you want to compare, that's what it's supposed to look like that. It is definitely improved over what it was, though it's still not there yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 4th round. I just cleaned off the 4th and final batch. I guess I could keep going, but I'm not going to. So at this point, what I'm going to do is just let the plastic dry, and then I'm going to put the console back together and give you my final thoughts. Now, I should note that I took the 2 pieces. Before reassembling them, I put them near a window where there was sunlight and let them dry there. Then I just decided to let them sit in the sun all day. And I think that actually helped a lot. The console actually looks really good. It's not perfect. There's still a little bit of yellowing on it. Probably a few more coats would really help that out, but I just decided to stop while I was ahead. Now, if you want to see what this did look like originally, look at the tone there. This piece in the back was not, I didn't de-yellow it at all. That's what it originally looked like. And now you can see the plastic around it doesn't look like that. It really did get restored quite a bit. There's that piece right there that was never yellowed. And you can see it's not perfectly the same, but damn is it a lot better. So yeah, guys, I would say that I recommend this. I wasn't originally thinking that that was going to be the case because the coats weren't looking that great, but after I was done with that 4th coat and I stuck it in the sunlight for a while with no chemical on it, it really started to turn gray again, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's I guess my final thoughts on it is if you do it the way I did, you'll probably get pretty satisfactory results. Now, but I will note that I still think the homemade concoction is actually better. It did give me nicer results, but the convenience of this really kind of makes up for it. So that's up to you if you decide, just choose between which one you want to do. But yeah, overall, I would say this is pretty neat, and it's probably worth your time to do because again, it was really cheap. So there you go. I hope this helps you out, guys. I know a lot of people wanted to know how to de-yellow these things, but not have to go through all that hassle. So hopefully this does it for you. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.